Hey guys, it's Holy Taboo, and I'm here with the gearing and skill guide for the Tamer. Now, before I get started, I will say I know it's been a long time, and I do apologise, but real life has been so hectic. I thought I'd take a break over the Christmas holidays, and as you're about to see, as I probably pan out, you'll see, actually what I did was I kind of stepped down from being the guild leader. The amount of time it was taking was just insane, and I just couldn't get round to doing any sort of guild work. Oh, ex-guildy here already, nice. And the thing is, I spent so much time doing this sort of thing for the guild, it just kind of got to a point where I was just, I want to do videos, but couldn't get round to it. So, hey, here we are. I'm now at a point where I can start doing videos and go back to enjoying myself, doing things that I've really been having fun doing. So, this video, what's it all about? The first thing that I'm going to do in this is go over some gearing for people that might be thinking about rolling to the Tamer. And I have to admit, over the last few weeks, I have been going back and forth about the Tamer, thinking, is this the class for me? And every time I come back and I just think, you know what? This class is brilliant. It's fun, it's fluid, it is unique. And yes, don't get me wrong, it has some teething issues. But you know what? It is a fun class. And that's something which you can't take away. So, if you're looking at re-rolling Tamer, please, I hope this guide's going to be a bit helpful for you gearing up. So, let's go to some real basics. Now, of course, the best gear to get, I'd like to think, is the boss armor. So, you'd normally go Giath's, Tree Spirit, you'd have your bear gloves and your Muskin boots. Now, of course, if you have that, yes, go for it. They're great. Stick with that. Now, of course, some people aren't necessarily so lucky. So, let's go have a look at some other things which are available to you when gearing up. So, if we go to the armor page, let's just have a look at a couple of sets just so you get an idea. The first we have is Taratas. Now, the Taratas set, if for a beginner, is quite nice. The set itself, the 2-piece, it gives you some maximum resource, which is your mana. The 3-piece gives you accuracy, and it does have 4 gem sockets in, which is really nice. Now, the other part that it does have, it has a bit of accuracy actually on the pieces, a bit of evasion. It's quite a nice set, and if you're going to start the Tamer, maybe get this up as your early set, but you know, I wouldn't necessarily hold on to it too much. Now, other sets that you can look at if you go to Xerath. So Xerath is a really interesting one. Now, the boots themselves are probably the main things here, so I'm probably doing a little disjustice here by looking at it. So let's have a go again. Let's look at Xerath, and you'll see why. The Xerath themselves on the feet, the maximum stamina when you're leveling up is really nice, because when you're doing your evasive move, it takes stamina, and a lot of your pre-awakening abilities use a lot of stamina if you really want to go for maximum DPS. Minus whiplash, but you know, we'll get onto that debate. The set itself has a bit of extra endurance on it as well, which is always good, and it has damage against every species +5. Nothing too special, but you know, not too bad. Now, there are things like Agerian. I'm not going to go into Agerian so much, even though I'm sure a lot of people went to it. It has the plus 100 HP, and it has attack speed and cast speed +2, which is really nice, as well as the gloves themselves having a +1 cast speed on. So you get 3 cast speed from that. That's nice. But what I'd like to suggest going forward, if you've just started to play the game, or you're just re-rolling, though if you're re-rolling, I'm sure you've got gear from elsewhere, look at the heave sets. So the heave itself, it might seem a little bit boring because the individual pieces don't have a high amount of stats on it. In fact, they don't really have any stats, and they seem pretty low until you start really getting into the detail. So let's have a look. If you have the 2-piece set effect, which is any 2 pieces, you get 250 health. If you get 3 pieces, you get an extra 50 health on top of that, so you get 300 health. Now, the beauty of all the heave set is that each of it has 2 gem sockets. Now, the sockets might not seem important at the start, but they give you so much. I know personally I really enjoy running 2 movement speed gems in my boots. Now that's freaked me out there. Yeah, there you go. 2 movement speed gems in the boots, because I think for leveling, being able to get around the map quicker is so important. So I really like the heave. Now the good part about heave is because of how the set bonus works, you're not tied to individual sets. If you get, say for instance, or I don't know, you're going to do your bear scrolls and you get the bear gloves drop, hey, you can take that out and you're still getting the 3 set piece. Or if you get another piece drop, you can switch and swap around as much as you want. You'll still get the 2-piece set. Now, of course, having all the gem sockets, like I said, is really useful. I'll go into what you should put into them in a little bit later on, because it is dependent on your weapon. But the flexibility it gives you is amazing. Now, the other side of this is Grinnell. Now, Grinnell itself is a bit more of an interesting one, and I know it's a bit more of a debate, because if you're planning on getting boss armor, which, you know, you will, Grinnell seems to be the secondary thing to go for. But for leveling, I must say I ran full Grinnell till I started getting my boss gear, and having that 4 set piece all together, which is 7 AP and 150 HP, was really nice. Now don't forget, 7 AP makes a really big difference when you're leveling. It powers up all your skills, so it is definitely worth having. So keep that in mind. But if you're going to get anything up before you get boss armor, I'd say stick with either Heave or Grinnell. Now, let's go to the main hand. The weapon's the most interesting thing about a class, I've always thought. So let's go to short swords. Now, as a Tamer, your main hand weapon is a short sword. Now, there's lots of variations that you can go for, but realistically, there's only 3 that you'll really want. Now, if you've got very low amounts of money, and I mean very low amounts of money, you can go for a Yoria. Now, the Yoria is a very standard sword. They're normally, they look expensive, but they're really not. Yoria short sword, additional damage to humans +5, and every time you enhance it up, you get an AP and accuracy increase, and increased damage to humans. Now, the reason why you have the damage to humans is it seems that a lot of things you end up killing, especially later on if you go to like Helms, Southlands, place pirates, are humans. It's a really cheap one to get up, and repairing it is cheap, so think about that. Now, if you do have a bit more money to spare, and at this point in the game I'd like to think you do, and if you don't, you know what, grinding at the moment is pretty good. Go for a Laverto. Now, a Laverto will have the same AP on as a Kazaka, but there are some hidden stats. At the bottom it does clearly say when you enhance a weapon you'll get increased AP and accuracy. Now, accuracy of course is a hidden stat. The other part that this gives you is obviously the critical hit chance +3 and 2 gem sockets rather than the 1. Now, having 2 gem sockets is really good because there's a lot of nice gems you can put in there. I know a lot of people at the moment are running double position. I'll get into that again in a little bit later on. But if you get this up, it's really nice. Now, there is a slight damage increase between the Laverto and the Yoria. So, in fact, let's go back to the Yoria really quickly. Let's see if I can find a try Yoria that's been put up. So, as you can see, if you get it to try, it's not an ultimate one. There we go, ultimate. You'll see it's 7.5 AP less than what you'd have if you had a try Kazaka short sword or Laverto, because they have the same. But it's the extra socket and the additional accuracy. And keep in mind, accuracy when you get later on in the game is really, really important. Now, of course, your best in slot that you can get is obviously a Kazaka. So the Kazaka itself, if I can even spell KZ, lovely. The Kazaka itself, they're not normally always on, but every now and then you'll see a few pop up, and they're worth getting. The increased accuracy that you get off this, you really feel it. Now, there have been tests done. I know when I replaced my Laverto for a Kazaka, I instantly felt the damage difference. Now, when you look at it, the AP is the same, but the extra accuracy is immense. Now, keep in mind, when you have moves which hit multiple times, if you miss one of them, it feels huge. The people that have tested these weapons tend to say that it's about a 10% damage difference between like-for-like weapons. So if you have a Tri-Laverto and a Tri-Kazaka, you'll probably be doing 10% more damage. So yeah, it's worth going for. So if you've got the money, bung it into a Kazaka because you will not regret it. Now, let's go to your sub-weapon. So your sub-weapon, if you're used to other games, is the trinket. Now, we have a really good array of trinkets we can use, and there's not many of them which I'd say are bad, if I'm honest. Now, when you start the game, this is an endless debate. You hear people saying, what should you go for? I'm going to put it really flat here and say I couldn't give you a proper answer, if I'm honest, but the needle trinket itself will give you bonus AP. The reason why I'd potentially say avoid this going forward is because at some point you might get yourself a Nuva, and a Nuva has more AP, and it kind of renders this trinket redundant. So as you go up, you know, this one's not so good. Let's go down. The incense trinket. The incense is our accuracy offhand, and that is really good. It might be worth having up. I personally don't have one anymore after I got the Kutum. But again, it's something to think about, but I'd probably advise going against this while leveling. Now, Korean Rosa, I've got a funny story about these. It's a very painful one for me. You'll see the stats on them are pretty much very similar. 1 to 3 AP and 4 DP with increased evasion. And the set effect won't matter because you'll never use the set effect, hopefully. And the Rosa's 1 to 4 AP. Now, the irony is, when I got my career up, it was just before the Rosa set came out, and I was so annoyed because the Rosa has 1 more AP on. Now, if I had my time again, I'd definitely choose a Rosa trinket as my starting trinket, or the Blade trinket, which I'll get onto next, which, as you see, it has 1 less gem socket, and it has no AP on at this level, but it has higher DP, and it also gives you this item effect of +3 evasion, +50 HP. Now, evasion itself for a Tamer is really strong. You'll notice you're very squishy when you're playing a Tamer. Now, we have a lot of moves with super armor and forward block, yep, and again, I can talk about that probably in the next video, not this one, because I really want to talk about gearing in this. But you're still squishy, and having evasion is nice. So if I had my time again, I'd try and run at the start with either a Rosa or the Blade. Now, as you see, the Rose has just been sold out because someone else is probably doing the same thing and getting it up. Now, try and get them up until you get the drop chance of either a Nuva or a Kutum. Now, luckily, I've had the RNG gods bless me. I have both. So if you look at the Kutum is your more hybrid situational. Now, personally, at the moment, this is the one I run with. It's got good AP, good DP. It has ignore resistances, so when you fight someone, you ignore their resistances. And it also has an accuracy increase as a hidden stat. Now, this comes to about 5 from what some tests have shown. I can't say if that's 100% true or not, but I personally think this is really good. Obviously, 2 gem sockets. You see I've put the Awakened Spirit Crystals in. 20 mil gems, quite expensive, but definitely worth it. It makes you feel very tanky, and the damage is great. Accuracy really is king at the moment, especially if you're not level 60 or 61. You want accuracy. You can't go without accuracy. Now, the Nuva, let's put them side by side. You'll get to see it. Sadly, I've not had the other Awakened Black Spirit Crystal in here yet, so, you know, I've gone a little bit poor on this one, but still, you get the idea. Now, as you'll see, the Nuva itself has less DP. This is basically, I said about the Needle Trinket being a pure AP. This is the ultimate version of that. This is the best that you can get for pure AP. So, as you'll see, it's got 14 more AP than this. It also has the item effect. It increases your resistances by 10%. So that technically gives you that little boost, and it has a double gem sockets. So if you look at the stats when you put this on, you can see it can make a huge difference to your total AP. I mean, 14 over the Kutum. That's not too bad, but keep in mind the double gem socket as well. It makes it superior over Needle. So for leveling up, I'd really say go Razor or Blade until you get one of these 2 drop. Personally, when I PvP at the moment, I do run Kutum. I feel like the increased accuracy is so important. I have the Nuva for farming, for PvE, because I think the damage is really good and it's very nice. But honestly, for PvP at the moment, I'm using Kutum. Now, I'm not saying this is the right way. This is just my opinion on this. Now, of course, I think if I get some more access on some other gear, which I'll go through as well, I might change my mind. But at the moment, definitely running Kutum. So, let's go to then our last sort of weapon, which is our Awakening weapon. Now, again, as you'll see, I've had a bit of luck here. I do have my Dandelion. Now, there's really only 3 versions of the weapon you're ever going to go for. So it's the bow staff, if you don't know. So we use a big stick, so you've probably heard jokes about that. We have a green version, which is our Celestial Practice bow staff. We have the Azura Thunder bow staff, which is the blue one. You get this from doing the quest. Now, just on a side note, you can upgrade this using an ultimate weapon stone, and that will put it to a yellow version, the ultimate version, just as the same with your Yorias and stuff like that. And then there's also the Dandelion. Now, the difference in these is all down to the damage at the top end. So let's just have a quick look. I'm sure there's got to be, I doubt anyone's ever put a tech green up, but we'll see. Let's do it from Tri. So if we look at the Tri Dandy, top damage 115. We'll hopefully then be able to find, yeah, there you go, a Tri Zero 105. So that's 10 AP difference. If you find the ultimate version, which should be a little bit lower down here. Yeah, you see there's not so many sold, but you get the idea. The damage difference is there. Even if you look at the Tet, the difference between the Tet damage is quite big. So you'll start off, realistically, you'll probably want to go for the green to start with. But if you've got the many, I'd really suggest trying to plow it into getting your Azura one done. The bonus damage that you get off this feels so high. And look, you can see here, 93 to 95. An extra 2 AP for, I think, 5 million from a weapon upgrade. It's probably the cheapest 2 AP you're going to get at this level. So, there you go. You don't have much choice on this. It's either the green one, which I'd say don't do unless you're really low on cash. The blue version, I'd say yes. If you've got the money, chuck it at it. It's got the bonus human damage. You'll be fine grinding. And ultimately, if you ever get the Dandelion drop, get that because it is obviously best in slot. Now, I know that sounds like I'm really preaching very common sense things, but hey. So, let's go to some other parts here. And this is where, again, it can get a bit murky in the water. Accessories. So, where do we start? Let's go with earrings. And I say earrings because I've got 2 different versions already. There's the pure DP build. and then you can go for a more sort of like, I don't want to say hybrid build, but you know, a build where you're looking at actually. Now going forward, I'll probably try and run 2 red corals. At the moment their price has shot up, so I'm just going to wait for another event where they come down. But honestly, getting the accuracy is good. Now let's have a look what realistically we could expect to be our options for earrings, because they do make a difference. Obviously, if you're playing this, you've got a budget, let's try and stick to your budget. Now, you could technically say your high end, your really high end, if you want to go pure AP, is tongue grade. Now, again, as much as I'd like to say at the moment, for me personally, I'm going to ignore going full AP. They are very expensive. And it seems at the moment, if I'm honestly, that accuracy is almost 1-to-1 with AP. Now, obviously, I can't say again, this is tested, but when I have more accuracy, I feel so much stronger. But if you've got lots of money, you can get tongue grade. They go up 2 AP each time. The Black Spirit doesn't change, but it's basically whatever a Witch's Earring was, this is basically +2 at whatever level. So that's quite a nice one. I've never really gone down a DP route with my Tamer. So when we go to like the Manos style things, any accessory here with pure DP on, I will very quickly glance over, mainly because it's just not the playstyle that I've been used to playing. Now, I've gone over before in another video the playstyle that you can have for a Tamer. You can stack DP and try and be an annoyance. I personally feel though, going forward in the game, with so many people having super armors, blocks, it feels so much harder to do that avoidance now when you're trying to run into a big group and stun everyone. It seems that so many more people can get out of it. It still does happen, don't get me wrong, but currently I'm going to ignore any DP. And again, for leveling up, I'd probably suggest that you ignore it too at this point. When I say ignore DP, on pure accessories, especially earrings, just ignore them. Just go for either AP or something with accuracy, because I think you'll end up regretting it. Now, the Fugitive Earrings, again, very nice, but very expensive for what it is. It does give you maximum stamina and maximum resource as well. It's 5 AP. Every time you enhance it, it's +2 AP. But it is quite expensive at the moment, 30 million for one. Is it worth it? Probably not really. I mean, if you're min-maxing, hey, who knows? Now, the Blue Molar Earring. Wow, I was obsessed with this on my Ranger. Obviously, more health was amazing. More health meant more damage on my Ranger at the time. But again, you know, it's still 30+ million and it's 5 AP base, 2 AP every time you enhance it. I'd say ignore it again. We said about the Manos, let's just leave the Manos alone. Now, we're getting into the area which I find very interesting now. So, Red Coral Earring, I've just said I think these are great. Likewise, to a Witch's Earring, you'll see the AP really doesn't scale too well, or doesn't seem too good at the start. But this is where it makes up. You have 5 stats there. You have 5 AP. On the Red Coral, you have 2 AP, 3 accuracy, and 50 stamina. So this is where I think it starts to sound really good, because I look at that as 5 stats. Now, I'm going to say, off the top of my head, I can't remember how it scales up. So let's just have a quick look. So, we said 2 and 3. Next version, 4 and... okay, 4. So it goes up 2 AP and 1 accuracy each time. Now you see, I see that as when that's going up, is going up by 3 stats. And I've already said how important accuracy is. Now again, this does go back to how you personally want to play. But this to me at the moment is the earring of choice. It is expensive though. If you wait for the events, these can go down to like 1.5, 2 million. So save your money. Don't buy them at this price. This seems so high. Anyway, Witch's Earring. Again, a Witch's Earring's quite, I say, well priced at the moment. 5 AP goes up 2 AP every time. You saw that on my off earring, the other earring. When you get it up to try, it has a good amount of AP on as well. But again, it still can be quite expensive as far as going forward and enhancing your gear. Now, this is probably one of my more favourite counter options. The Blue Coral Earring. As you'll see, there doesn't seem to be much difference. 5 AP versus 4. Well, actually, the only difference is that this has this maximum MP, WP, SP, which is your resource. So let's just have a look how they go up. It goes up by 2 each time, but yeah, I didn't think so. Your mana and stuff doesn't change. Now, the reason why I say this is nice, look how cheap that is. That's 1.2 million in comparison to the Witches, which was, I think, about 4 or 5. Yeah, still nearly 6. You get the idea. And for 1 AP difference. So if you're really getting into the game and you're starting off and you don't have the money for red corals, or red corals aren't really available, Blue Coral is a very, very good alternative. Now, likewise, if you don't have the money for them and you're looking at this thinking, oh, I don't really want to go into the blues or the yellows at the moment, let's have a look at our very basics. the very basics are you have your bears. Your bears is your standard AP. It's, you know, it's nice. And then you have the callus, which is your accuracy. Again, it's something that I wouldn't necessarily go for. So, and okay, there is the good deeds part. Let's just go put that in. Is it called Nexus? Is it friendship? Is that in the earring? I'm going to find it now. That's going to annoy me. You do have other things like the Manos as well. Oh yeah, token of friendship. There you go. It is the DP accessory version. I still wouldn't really go for it. And Manos, okay, they're sold out. And Riddell. Two things I'd really ignore, but my idea here would be definitely go red coral. Red corals are very good, or witches if you want the pure AP. And if you really want pure AP, chuck the money at it and get 10 grade. Now, where's the next? Let's go to the belt. Belt's a really interesting one, I think. Mainly because there's a lot of talk really around these ones you're looking at here. So let's have a look at, let's start with the Ancient Weapon Core. Now, I'm personally never been a fan of the Ancient Weapon Core until recently. I don't have one, but I think as a starter, if you went for the Ancient Weapon Core and made a set with the neck piece as well, which is, I can't remember what it's called. We'll see it afterwards. You do get this 5 accuracy. And as we've noticed, accuracy is ridiculously strong. Definitely worth having. So, if you get the Ancient Weapon Core, 4 AP, 4 DP, it goes at +1 on both. It's pretty nice. And they're not bad price anymore, 7 million. Okay, potentially worth running into. Now, I've said about not really going for DP. The Centaur's belt is obviously a potential option you could go for here. It's 5 DP. It scales at +3 DP each enhancement, which is nice. And the HP also scales up as well. So if you really did want to try a full DP build, you could go that. But hey, that's completely up to you. I'll go into some of the other little cheaper ones in a second, like this one, because this is a good, interesting one. But we'll get to that. Now, I'd say the high-end choices at the moment, you have 2. You have either the Basilisk belt or the Tree Spirit belt. Again, my opinion at the moment is, looking at this like I've just looked at the red coral earring, you're looking at the Basilisk belt, which is just a flat 5 AP. You look at the Tree Spirit belt, which is a flat 5 AP +1 accuracy. Now, the difference is when you enhance the Basilisk belt, it goes up by 3 AP. If you enhance Tree Spirit, it only goes up by 2. Now, let's keep that in mind. But what it will also go up by is 1 accuracy. So they are both going up by the same number of stats. If you take 1 accuracy to be 1 AP, which I currently am, I'm not saying that's the right way, but hey, it is a bit cheaper. At the moment, I really would suggest that people go with the Tree Spirit belt. I think accuracy is so important in the game. Obviously, it's completely up to you, but that's what I'd suggest. Now, maybe again, you're looking at these thinking, God, 30 to 45 million, and the Basilisk belt will go back up in price. You're looking at this thinking, that's a bit too rich for me. That's fine. Belts to the Schultz Gladiators. I can't believe there's only 4 on. These things tend to be always on the auction house because they're really easy to have drop and to grind for. But if you get them, it's 3 AP. They go up 2 AP each time. They're pretty good, and they're so cheap. At 1 million each, you can use Cronstones, and the events give you so many Cronstones. You can safely enhance these up to duo or try without too much fear. I think as far as that, the only thing that's probably worth giving a shout out to, if you really were wanting to do some DP and for some reason didn't want to just go straight for the Centaur belt, you can do the Rutum Elite. It goes up by +2, as you can see, but it's not very special. So I'd ignore that personally, but hey. So the interesting ones, like I say, these 2 for your high end. Ancient Weapon Core was a nice hybrid if you really want to go to a hybrid. Your cheap AP is your Belt of the Schultz, and if you want to do DP, I would go Centaurs. So, rings. Again, another really interesting place where a debate comes through, and something that I've been playing with quite a lot. And I've had a bit of weird luck with it. So, let's look at pure AP at the moment. Now, of course, this goes the same with every other. If you want just greens, your options are Bears for AP or Callus for accuracy, and the rest it's not really worth looking at. But let's have a look. If you go with Ring of the Crescent Guardian, we're going to start at the complete top end here of AP, and I will say AP. Every time you enhance this ring, it goes up by +3. So that makes this ring exceptionally strong. The other AP version that you will have is a Mark of Shadow. A Mark of Shadow goes up by 2 AP each time. So it does start to drop off behind the Crescent as you enhance it further. But again, look at the price difference. 33 million, and again, these are low in price because of the event, versus 5. It's a lot easier to get these up to duo or try than it is these, and you'll save a lot of money. Now, where it starts getting interesting is when you go to the blue and red coral rings. So let's just see if I just put coral in, just to make this a bit easier for us. The blue coral ring is a 5 AP ring, and it only goes up by +1 each time you enhance it. So again, we'll see a duo there. You'll see it goes up to +2. The thing about this is it's a cheap ring. You can throw money at it. But again, I'd avoid this, I hate to say, like the plague. It's really not worth going for. What I would say, if you're just starting, avoid going for bears, save your money if you're just starting, and go for the red coral rings. The red coral rings are fantastic. Keep in mind the Mark of Shadows, which I said was a pure AP ring, was 5 stats, 5 AP. Same with the Crescent Guardian. Now, if you look at the red coral ring, it starts off with a tremendous 7 stats, 4 AP, 3 DP. Wow, that is a strong ring for starting with. And again, they're so cheap. You can throw these together at 350,000. They're always some on the special marketplace to get them cheaper. So it's definitely worth looking at. And every time you enhance them, they'll go up by 1 each time. 1 AP, 1 DP. I'll have to admit, I have had the, I'd say luck, it wasn't luck, it was quite unlucky, but I'll get into that another time, of getting a Tet red coral ring. I don't use it because I don't see the huge value in it. Oh, one's just came up, we can see the pry there. So as you see, 5 to 4, 4 to 3. It's a really nice stat boost, and again, when you're a lower level, you won't have the DP from some of your boss gear. You might not have it enhanced up. This is a really nice option to look at. Anyway, let's go back to some of the other choices that you have. Now, the reason why I say it's interesting, because if you go then for, let's say, the coral rings, you're saying you're going for a hybrid. Now, what you can do, you can also build just as you've done pure AP. There is a pure DP version, which is the Ring of the Cadre Garden. It starts off at 5, and as it goes up by 3, as you can see here. Now, these will get up to, and it's got to match that, so it'll be 14 AP if you have the Crescent at try, 14 DP if you have the Cadre at try. So again, let's just have a little sneaky peek at the coral ring and just have a look, because what a lot of people do is run 2 red coral rings at try. And the reason why, because it will give you, if you have 2, 17 AP and 12 DP. So if you ran 1 try Crescent and 1 try Cadre, you'd technically be better off by 2 DP if you had like for like. But at the same time, the cost is hundreds of millions different. So again, this is why the option's there. Now, personally, I do run double AP at the moment when I'm doing Battlegrounds. I do have that Tet red coral ring available if I really want to put on that extra DP. But again, it's not something I'm too bothered about. So if you're just starting off as a tamer, or you know, even if you're not just starting off and you want to know how to build, until you start feeling comfortable, I definitely say go for the red coral ring. You see that prize already gone. They get sniped really quick. Get a red coral ring. Now, obviously, it has a very cheap sister, which is the Outlaws ring. And the only reason it's cheap is because the stats are the other way around. 3 AP, 4 DP. Now, again, we like to say 1 AP doesn't really equal 1 DP, as you'll see me complaining about some other things. So, you know, that's why it's a lot cheaper. But hey, if you don't have the money, it's still a viable option. So keep that in mind. Outlaws is good. Now, let's go to the neck. Neck is another interesting one. Again, bears, you have the option. Let's go in. Now, again, the Manos stuff. If you were going to go for any of the Manos, I really don't know what I'd say. The diamond version is nice because it will give you resistance to everything, but the resistance is much lower than the pure resistance, which you have off, say for instance, this one I'm looking at, which is just knocked down or bound. Personally, as I've been rolling with Manos before, I've never seen this sort of resistance kick in. Or if it has, it seems like there's so many, it's not worth it. Especially when you look at knockdown. Most knockdown moves have got 5 or 6, 7 hits. So yes, you might resist the first 1 or 2, but you never seem to go to resist the whole thing. So it really doesn't seem like going for. Maybe grapple would be something I'd look at, but again, the price is quite high. So I'd say as a top end, you do have Manos up there as an option. Now you have your pure AP brother and sister, which everyone knows about. It's either the Ogre or the Latans. The Ogre will go up by 5 AP, and so will the Latans every time you enhance it. So it's really good, and it's so strong on the stats. But you're looking at a lot of money, and you will burn some in this. They're not cheap, so using your stones, cron stones, to help you isn't going to be an option. So prepare to lose on that one. Necklace of the Good Deeds, you know, again, if you really want to go pure DP, I'd really suggest not doing it, but a Necklace of Good Deeds starts off at, is it 5? And it goes up to 8 each time. I'll double check that as we go by. Scarlet Necklace, if you ever have one of them, burn it, because that's what it's good for. I'm so sorry if you run them. but they are terrible. Every time you enhance them, it's only 1 AP, 1 DP. There are so much better things out there. Now, this is, I'd say, is the second tier, and I know it's going to upset some people because actually the Ceciles may not be so second tier. You know, I'd say this like, I don't want to say second now, I'm going to say 1.5. It's between top tier and the second tier. The reason why I say that is because, again, I don't think that AP 1-for-1 outweighs DP. But again, you are a Tamer, you're going to be going into the fray. If you can't survive, you do need it. Now, the Seals necklace is quite nice because every time you enhance it, it does go up by 5 stats. I believe it's 3 AP, 2 DP. Now, let's just have a quick little check of that to make sure I'm not giving you some bad information. So, yeah, so it goes up 3 AP, 2 DP. So, as you can see, it always has the same amount of stats on as an Ogre Ring. So, if you look at that, that's 7 plus 3 is 10. I said the Ogre Ring goes up by plus 5. You go to this, have it at Pry. Again, you're 10, 15. So it's really nice. Now, I would like a Tries the Seals because actually I think the DP would be quite nice. I know there's a lot of talk, is there hidden evasion? I'd say there's probably not. And if there is evasion, it's from the pure DP alone. So, again, like I said, for stat-wise, it's a really, really good option. It's definitely worth looking into, especially if you don't have the money to throw at the Ogre Ring. Now, second tier, and this is second tier just because of the AP on it, Serap's Necklace. Serap's Necklace is a pretty strong choice as well. I believe it goes up by plus 2. You can see that I've never gone down the Serap Necklace way because I've always had Ogres. But yeah, it goes up by plus 4. So Serap's 8 AP. It does have this health on, but the health doesn't stack anyway, so that's static. So every time you enhance it, you get plus 4. Now again, if you get a Try, that's the equivalent of a Duo Ogre. But it's still worth a good amount of money, and it's still a pain to enhance because you've got to remember it's still a yellow item, but it's definitely worth having if you want to go for the pure AP build. And a lot of people will want to do that, but might not have the money to throw at the Ogre Ring. Now, okay, Necklace of Good Deeds, it still only did go up by 2. Again, I'd stay away from the Necklace of Good Deeds, I really would. I know they're useful, I know the DP on it's quite nice, but I think there's better things there. Ancient Guardian Seal. Now, if you remember before when we looked at the belt, I said this was quite a nice option. Again, for enhancing, it doesn't necessarily go up that much in stats, but the 5 accuracy that you get from the set is really worth keeping in mind. So if you're new and you're really like strapped for cash, I'd potentially go for the Ancient Guardian set. Now, if you're very, very new and you're very, very strapped for cash and you don't want to go for bears and you want to start going to the blue area, look at the Schultz. Schultz is really nice and it's something that's been quite new to the game. The Schultz necklace, I do believe, goes up. I should have put a bit more in here to make it easier for myself. The Schultz necklace does go up by 2 each time. Is it 2? Oh no, it's 3. Even better. The Schultz necklace go up by 3 AP each time, and they're not too bad. If you look at that 3 mil, that's not bad. It should be quite easy to get a duo, and a duo to have that much AP, it's not too bad. Now, if you're just starting, again, have a look on the auction house for a bears. There's always bears. There's so many bears now because of the mysterious boxes. These used to be 300,000. And if you look how cheap it is to get a Tri-Bears, and Tri-Bears having 10 AP, it's 1 Ogre Ring. That's your obvious go-to set. So, as a run-through, I think that gives you a rough idea. But again, if you're saying best in slot, currently, and I'm saying currently, and this is only my opinion, I'd go full boss armor, ideally Dimtree over Red Nose. I'd definitely say duo red coral rings. I think they're just amazing. I'd definitely say tree spirit belt. Again, you get a lot of accuracy out of if you have these two as red corals, and that you have so much accuracy. Obviously, a Kazaka, you get the accuracy. Dandy, just because of the pure high damage. Now, if you got to that point where you had accuracy on all the others, you may even be able to put in the Nuva, and it might be worth running instead. But when you come down to your accessories, I do run pure AP. I do run the Ogre. I think that is pure best in slot. The only thing I'd be potentially willing to do here is either to run a Tri-Crescent and a Tri-Cadre, or if I was really looking to just get the stats up, I'd go obviously red coral on this one and have the tech there because it has more stats on. But again, it's what outweighs it, and I think the pure AP at the moment is the killer. Now, the reason why I say this, playing the Tamer at the moment, one of the things I have noticed is if you get hit by a witch or a wizard, for instance, you're going to go down anyway. So you need to learn to play around that so you don't get hit. And I know that sounds really obvious, but no matter how much DP I think you'll have, you're still going to go down quick. Now, I'm sure some people are going to say against that. That's fine. This is just what I've seen so far. Now, the other thing I did say I'd quickly go over as well, part of this is gems and skills. The gems are quite easy. This is my own personal opinion, and I really don't want to necessarily go too much into it about so many of the options, but for your helm, there's really two big options that I'd see. It's you either go the pure evasion, the evasion plus 5 times 2, or there are some HP gems you can put in. They're the ones I'd go for personally, is the pure evasion. Again, if you can dodge the damage, you're going to dodge more than 50 HP worth of damage if you dodge it, so worth getting. Now, this is one that's always into the debate now, especially because you can buy the black magic version of the HP gems, which give you damage reduction, which I probably presume are still better than these. But every time I've ran the special attack evasion damage, it feels like I survive so much longer, because you think now everything is almost a special attack. Look at all your abilities, it always has a modifier on. So hey, if it has a modifier on, you've got a chance here for an extra 10% evasion. Keep it on. These are lifesavers, and they're so cheap. These gems, the evasion ones on here are like 1.8 million. You might have to pre-order them 2 million. You'll be fine. These ones though, 30 or 40,000. Cheap gems, definitely worth getting. When we go to the gloves, I did say the reason why gemming is quite sort of specific for your gloves, because it depends on your main hand. The rule of thumb you want to have is always run 5 attack speed. That's sort of non-negotiable. You should always have 5 attack speed. Now, luckily for me, I've got full boss gear, so I get +1 attack speed. I will have my Jarrett's armor soon, so I can put that on to get the attack speed. And I've got the Kazaka, which will also have the 3 attack speed. So when you get to this point, you can choose. Now, a lot of tamers don't run the full crit. A lot of tamers just take your base crit that you can get, or say with your food buffs, maybe even just run 1 gem and put more precision gems in the gloves so you've got more accuracy. Again, it's probably worth doing. It's just not anything I've ran into yet. Your offhand, if you're lucky enough to have a Kutum or a Nuva, or even go down the Rosa avenue, you'll have 2 sockets. Obviously, best in slot is your Awakened Spirit Crystal. There has been tests done, and it does seem like the AP does stack on these, so you don't have to worry about it. The max HP is also very nice. Now, if you don't want to chuck that much money at it, so 20 million for the big crystal, I think it's 8 or 9 million for the smaller one, which you'll see in my Nuva here. It's worth getting critical strike or down attack, because all of our attacks crit anyway. We have such high crit modifiers. To have that bonus damage is nice. Now, I'll probably get flamed to hell for this because of my second crystal in here, but it's just because I like having a bit of freedom with my food buffs while leveling. Normally, I'd say you'd have 2 black magic crystals in here of precision to get that 2 accuracy and ignore all the resists. I currently only run 1. The reason why is because I didn't want to keep carrying around food, so I could be 5 attack speed, 5 crit. But you know, hey ho, I am. So I've put the black magic version in, just get the extra 2 AP. That will probably change out to the 2 accuracy and ignore the 10 resist at some point. But realistically, they're the only ones I'd go for. I really wouldn't suggest going for the pure AP ones. I suppose you could, but again, it seems like the accuracy and the ignore resist will give you so much more than that flat AP. But if you've got the money to chuck at the 20 million crystals, then sure, give it a go and let me know what you think. Boots, again, this is something that goes down to personal preference. There are a lot of different gems you could use here. I just use flat movement speed because 1, they're quite cheap, readily available. I know there's ones where you can get 1 movement speed, extra endurance, extra carry weight. They're very nice, but I like to run around with 5 move speed. I just feel like it helps me clear quicker. It helps me get around the place. So I take these. I think it's a bit of a win. So that's what I'd suggest. Now, the final part. And I say the final part is probably going to be just as long. Let's look at skills when you're leveling up. Now, I'm not going to do a full skill build now. I know I've linked it to some people before, what I have. But I just want to make clear what you should try and prioritize when you're leveling up. When you're leveling up, you'll get some of these at base. One of the things I'd always say, always get your evasion up as quick as possible, because you'll be using this to move around. It's quicker than running, and basically you'll get your legendary beast power anyway. So as you'll be able to see if I put my awakening weapon away, you basically just do 1 roll, 1 beast power forward, and 2 evasions forward. Now you can bind evasion, so I've bound it to 0 because I have that on my mouse. And as you can see, I can do quite a quick in succession. You'll go, if you do an attack after your evasive move as well, you just do this little fling move forward, and this is much quicker than running. So if you want to get to people, oh god, here we go, fall down here, that's fine. that's how to do it, and this is how you can get around nice and quickly. So that's definitely worth keeping in mind. So get this up priority. Tree climb, a lot of people lock this out. The reason why I don't is because if you're overweight, you do this forward F and you can actually move freely. You don't have to worry about how much weight you're carrying. I was going to see if I don't think I've got anything on my horse here, so I can't even show you, but just trust me, if you're overweight, you can use tree climb. The thing is, it takes up a lot of stamina, but you shouldn't need to anyway, because you can summon Highlung and go on that. As far as getting your beast out, I'd always suggest trying to max Highlung, because I think he's so important and does decent damage. It scales off your other moves as well. Absorb Highlung, I'd ignore completely until you've got enough points to go to it. Flash and Pole are two moves which I think are quite nice. The reason why I've maxed Pole is for the magic DP shred. Again, it's just for farming, and I have Awakened Flash to give me mana and health back, but again, this is personal preference. I wouldn't worry too much about it. If you've only got the first level of it, you'll probably be fine. Now, when you're leveling, one of your, I'd say, priority 2 up until you get to, I can't even remember what level you get these at now, because it's not going to show me because I have it. Whatever level you get these at, I'm pretty sure it's like 48. As soon as you get to 48, you want to make sure you have both Ultimate Bolt and Jolt ready. This is your bread and butter of your farming before you basically get your Awakening. Before that, you'll be roaring, and it's very simple. It's when you hold down your shift and you left click, that is a bolt followed by Jolt. Let's just see again, Bolt, Jolt. Now there is this animation afterwards, so you see after you've done it, you do this sort of thing where you feel the need to walk back. Now what you can do, you can cancel that with other moves. So if you do a Bolt, Jolt, and then while holding obviously shift still and hit spacebar between it, you'll actually cancel that animation and go into the next Bolt and Jolt as well. You still need to hold left click down, so if you see that 1, 2, hit space, and you'll see I've done another pair. And it combos really nicely, and you can cancel into quite a lot of things here. And that's an example. Now obviously pre-awakening, that's a nice way to get around that. There are a lot of other things, but there's so many videos out to show you about these cancels. If you are interested, I can do it, but it's not necessarily worth going into. Whiplash used to be our main damage dealer. I personally don't have any points into it at the moment because there are better moves out there in my personal opinion, and it's a lot of points at the moment. I just don't have them free, so yeah, you can sack that off. Void Lightning, it's worth getting up to a rank 3 at least. The reason why is because you can cancel it. So that's your Void Lightning, and actually again you'll see there's an animation, so I'm trying to move after I've pressed it, and as you'll see I can't because I'm locked in. But if you do a bolt straight afterwards, so Void Bolt, you'll see it cancels it straight away. The reason why that's useful is because if you have Highlung out and you do the bolt, you'll see he's going to go do this thrash. A lot of people know this now, but at the start a lot of people didn't realise that if they walked into that area when Highlung's doing that, they get flinched, which is basically like a mini stun. So you could jump into people and do that on top of them and they'd get stunned. Now again, when we talk about cancelling it, rather than being stood there, you can do that and then you see he'll do it. Now you could use Void Travel, that's pretty much been taken out now because of server lag issues. But if you really want to cancel this quickly, and beware because you can cancel it too quickly, you're going to do a Void into a Bolt and straight into your evasion move forward. So you see that? But if you do it too quickly, I've run out of mana, I've got no mana pots. If you do it too quickly though, Highlung won't complete its move. So just keep that in mind. You can do it quick, but he does need to actually get the move out. Probably should have, again, chugged a mana pot there. But you get the idea. So it's definitely worth having that at rank 3. So let's have a look at some other ones. There's not so many else which I'm going to say are really sort of mandatory at this point. Throat Burn, I have locked that out personally just because I don't use it so much. The knockback can be useful, but if I'm knocking someone back, I'd rather be doing different moves instead. Trample, you can very easily keep this at level 1. It's really nice to use after you've done a stiffen on someone because you've got a high chance of knocking them down. So if you see, if it does it, it binds, or say bounds them, which is, it's not a knockdown, but it's a similar type effect. So if you look, you do that straight afterwards and it hits them down. It's nice, it's worth having as an option, but do it after you flash. So a nice one is if you flash and go straight into it. Again, pre-awakening, it's nice, but 1 point in it should do you. Now let's go to then the more important ones. Forward Earth, I'd say, or Lightning of Earth. Just ignore this now, there are much better moves which you can use. Surging Tide, when you're leveling, you're going to want to probably ignore anyway, because it's a really good move. It's really important to get to know how to use it, because it is a sort of a guard or a block when you do use it. It's very situational. The damage is okay later on, but it's quite point intensive. So if you're just starting, ignore it. We get down to Fearful Tremble. It's basically just a stun. The more you increase this, the lower the cooldown. So a lot of people would say I should probably actually have this maxed out rather than Surging Tide. But again, it's down to personal choice. I'd actually much rather have Surging Tide at the moment because it fits into my rotation, and I've got the CC forms. But again, you won't really worry about this so much. I like having Upward Claw at 2 while leveling because actually it puts the air smash on. If you look at it at level 1, it doesn't. So it's just nice to have. It's just that extra CC at really low levels. But again, you're probably not going to use it too much, so that's up to you. Scratch, the reason again why I have this at level 2 is so it synergizes with another flow. So ignore that. Now when you're leveling, the one move that I don't have at the moment, and again it's down to skill points available because I don't actually have that many, it's Roaring. Get this up to full until you hit 50. I want to say 56, but you probably won't even need it past then. You're going to use this to level. As soon as you get to 50 and you're sort of going then to mains, Catfish will be fine with this, but as soon as you go to mains, you're probably going to be using Bolt Jolt combos anyway. But this is really good. You can get on your horse and use this ability as well to go and farm. So definitely this is priority number 1. Everything else sort of comes afterwards. Having more health, say not so important, just nice. Skilled Hunter, again, it's nice. When you get to your Awakenings, I've only been messing around having the bow staff here. I don't really use it so much. The only reason I looked at it is for just getting mana back in between rotations. So, but you will want to max everything out, bar probably 1. And it might not be so popular me saying this, actually 2. I don't take Howling. The concept of it is really cool, but actually to give it a 2-minute cooldown for what it does, it's just not worth it. Honestly, it's really not worth it. This skill feels so lackluster, but everything else is really nice. I'd say the Flow Ascension, again, I just don't feel like it's really that useful. I have much better skills that I want to sort of put with this. The 100% crit chance is nice, but the damage, again, it just seems so lackluster. But hey, we all know our flow skills aren't so good. Well, they're okay, I guess. But hey, we'll go into that. I'm going to do a bit better video about the awakening stuff and go over some proper combos. So your super armor combos, your PvP combos that you use. I will go over that, but again, this is just supposed to be an introduction to the Tamer. If you're looking at playing the Tamer, the class is really fun. It does flow nicely. It's not the best grinding class anymore. I say not necessarily that it was either anyway, because you had stuff like the Ranger. The pet is kind of annoying. It does die by water, but the class itself is fun. You are definitely a duelist. There are a lot of people who you can 1v1 with, and as long as you know that you have a big toolkit, you're going to do very well. Anyway, thank you for watching, and again, I know this probably isn't necessarily the video that you wanted to come straight back to, because I know you're looking for some more advanced stuff at this point, but it is a real beginner's introduction to a Tamer on how to gear it and what to get up. I hope this has helped you. Thank you very much for listening, and I promise you the next video that will be out will be more advanced combos for the Tamer. So, thank you very much, guys. Bye.